Many thanks for joining us on the newspaper review segment on AM Cafe, coming to you live from the stables of IATV. My name is Folashade Ogurinde, and today on the newspaper review segment, we'll be taking a review of the top stories making the headlines on the Nigerian national dailies. And not the only one in the studio today. I have with me Mr. Shino Loremiko, is the coordinator campaign against impunity in Nigeria. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And how was the weekend?
It was peaceful and quiet.
We thank God for that. Okay, let's move straight to the Vanguard newspaper. Now, these are the headline stories. How we survived bandits' attacks. Katsina Zamfara victims. The writer says bandits killed all men, set our villages ablaze. 15 soldiers killed, 19 wounded in Borno State. We lost 5 men, killed scores of terrorists, says the military. Army bans use of motorcycles in Kano, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Kaduna, and Niger State. Security stakeholders task government on urgent intervention. Other stories making the headlines here. Umaru Yar'Adua, legendary visionary leader, says Jonathan and Atiku. NGE re-elects Egbemode as president. The story is on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Rivers, PDP alleges conspiracy at election tribunal. That story is on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. Power projects, Fashola names the 14 contractors. If you're curious to know what exactly is happening there, if you want to know who those contractors are, the story is on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Ramadan begins today, says Sultan. The story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Truck load of poisonous pomo intercepted in Lagos. The story is on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. More stories making the headlines. Gunmen abduct OAU lecturer on Ife Ibadan Road. The story is on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Bad politicians behind Nigeria's insecurity, illegal migration. The story is on page 36 of the Vanguard newspaper. And finally, external borrowing will throw Nigeria into recession again. Anglican Church warns. Methodist Synagogue declares Nigeria failed state. The story is on page 12 and page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper. And Mr. Loremiko, just last week Monday, we looked at a story about the Nigerian government warning the citizens about poisoned pomo. And now we are seeing a story that truckload of poisonous pomo intercepted in Lagos. And this is confirming those warnings that I really don't know what is the mindset of the average person that decides to poison pomo and makes it poisonous to the average human.
It has been an issue of worry to me since I picked the news yesterday. I learned that it was the police in Igodo who, through intelligence gathering, got information that poisonous pomo are about to be transported to town from that neighborhood. And getting there for the operation, the police were able to apprehend, I think, about 5 persons. Interestingly, one of them is said to be about 50 years old. So you want to wonder, what is the intention of a 50-year-old man trying to circulate poisonous food substance into the society? And I want to ask further too, where is this pomo coming from? Is it a single source or is it a multiple source? Is it a coordinated and sabotage or otherwise?
And what you just said now makes me wonder, or would make most Nigerians wonder. Definitely there are economic gains to be made by such perpetrators. But looking at the health, the health, the situations that could happen if this poisonous pomo wasn't intercepted, and we need to give kudos to the Nigerian police force for doing the job very well. Now let's go straight to the Guardian newspaper. The top story here says, again Boko Haram kills soldiers. The writer says military confirms 5 deaths, fires attack on Borno village. Why Islamist sect is reclaiming lost territory. Arrest APC mercenaries, thugs, PDP tells security agencies. Another story here says EU Germany moved to grow Nigeria's non-oil sector. How they're going to go about it? That story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Gunmen killed 400 level students in Commissioner's House, abducts girls. The story is on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper if you want to know details about that story. House shareholders activism ensures accountability, protects listed firms. The story is on page 44 of the Guardian newspaper. PDP alleges INEC wants Rivers Guba polls cancelled. The story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, Mr. Noremiko, we're seeing the story. Again, Boko Haram kills soldiers. You know, it's becoming alarming. We've had several reports about the insurgency, the Boko Haram, overcoming our Nigerian soldiers. And there's this new report that says that the Islamic sect is reclaiming lost territory. Just last week, it was widely circulated that the Nigerian army weren't fully or well funded, while the Boko Haram terrorist group were very well funded. What are your thoughts and opinion about this?
My opinion goes with the theory of propaganda and counter-propaganda. If you are not careful, perhaps let me say extra careful, you won't even know the truth. But the reality of it is that there is a serious breach of public peace that only those who are victims can really say exactly what is happening. Every day in the news we hear of the effort of the defense agencies, what they are doing, making use of the army, making use of the air force, making use of the navy, making use of the police, and at the end of the day we still find out that there is still no stability, there is no peace, there is no order, there is fear everywhere. And in one of the reports you read, you mentioned an incident in the Ilesha-Ibadan.
The Ife-Ibadan Expressway.
I also read that report. The journalist disclosed that it was one of his sons that told him, Daddy, we have just escaped narrowly from gunmen. And those gunmen were said to be loaded in a trailer. You want to ask, where are they coming from? Did they take off from Ilesha, or did they take off from Akure? How did they get to the express that none of our security agencies can even sense any threats? And they were not with bows and arrows. According to the report, they were with guns. So you now find Nigerians moving freely from one community to the other with guns, light guns, and unfortunately, incident I will have recorded before any drastic measure is made. I thought what we should be witnessing is like what happened in the Pomon incidents, the poisonous Pomon in Igondo. Neighbors, citizens should have an eye to identify crisis, to suspect pending tension, and to report to the appropriate authorities. If report is made, the appropriate authorities should move promptly. In Igondo, the report suggested that it was the DPO that went. Perhaps if the DPO have sent his subordinate, the operation may not have been successful. So we need to be up and doing. The civilians, the security agencies need to collaborate. Even for informants, there have to be reasonable reward so that information can flow.
And protection.
In fact, I have done a lot with Witness Protection Act. I want to ask, where are we with the Witness Protection bill that we've been pushing for over 10 years?
And this is something that in the United States, it's, been there, done that over there for them. So let's move to more stories. The Punch newspaper. State of Public University Libraries worrisome, says ASU president. If you visit the Kenneth DK Library, you see the level of rot there. When there is power outage, that's the workers, will have to be running around to look for diesel to power the generator. That's if the generator is working. That statement was made by UI ASU chair. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Presidency attacks media as Buhari returns from the United Kingdom. The story is on page 54 of the Punch newspaper. How to end godfatherism in Lagos. El Rufai says. That story is on page 56 of the Punch newspaper. Tribunal to issue notice to hear articles petition this week. That story is on page 57 of the Punch newspaper. We have more stories here. Ramadan prices of tomato pepper rise by 60% in Lagos. The story is on page 57 of the Punch newspaper. And if you want to know why exactly, you can go to the page 57 of the Punch newspaper. Police arrest 6 for alleged sale of poisonous pomo in Lagos. That story is on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. UTME, 5 jailed for exam fraud, 123 others facing trial. That story is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. And I think that's all the stories we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Now going back, to the issue we've had severally. ASU just came out of a strike that was around the beginning of January. And we see, these issues all over and over. It's more or less like a cycle. The ASU, the lecturers and who, of course, members of ASU keep complaining or saying that the Nigerian government doesn't put enough money into the education sector. And not just varsities here. We have issues with our primary school. We have issues with the secondary school. What can be done to stop these abnormalities we have?
Sometimes I don't want to be a news hunter, but unfortunately it is a vocation I've taken for decades. On my way to the studio, one of my friend who happens to be a monarch in Ondo State, on Facebook wrote a letter to the governor of Ondo State, and he was lamenting the state of educational and health facility in Ilaje local government. According to him, there is only one general hospital in Ilaje local government. According to him, some of the schools in Ilaje local government don't even have 30 teachers on their payroll.
And we say the Nigerian education system, we all know that education is the next level. Education is what makes the average youth the leader of tomorrow. And we keep seeing these issues of the Nigerian government not putting enough money. They've said that the education sector receives, one of the least budgetary allocations. And it's quite saddening, and I hope the Nigerian government does something as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Shina Doremiko, for coming on the show today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. And that's all we can take on the newspaper review segment today. To join us for more exciting episodes and to become your way again tomorrow. Good morning. I am Folashade Ogrinde. Bye for now.